My sister asked me to fund her entire $750,000 wedding, then on the day itself told me, "You just need to pay for it, you don't belong here." I simply said, "Fine by me," and left. But I had work to do. By morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. My name is Bethany, and I'm the oldest of 3 sisters. Growing up, that meant I was the responsible one, the solver, the one who fixed everyone's problems when our parents couldn't be bothered. I didn't mind at first, that's just how our family worked. Veronica was the middle child, the drama queen, the one who demanded constant attention. Felicia, the youngest, was the spoiled baby who never faced consequences. I was the one who made everything work. When I became successful in business, things evolved, but not really. My daughter Juliana is now 19, brilliant, ambitious, everything I could have hoped for. She's studying business at Princeton on a full scholarship, already planning her own startup. I remember when she was younger, watching me negotiate contracts at the kitchen table, asking sharp questions that impressed even Marcus, my husband who runs his own law firm. From the beginning, I taught her one principle: respect is earned through results, not demanded through blood. But my family never understood that lesson, no matter how clearly I demonstrated it. Veronica got engaged last spring, massive announcement, designer ring she couldn't afford, Instagram posts about her dream wedding. She congratulated herself on landing a man with minimal income but maximum social media presence. Juliana rolled her eyes when she saw the engagement photos. Aunt Veronica's marrying another influencer wannabe, she observed with the cold accuracy I'd trained her to use. Then came the call I should have seen coming. "Veronica, sweet as poison, Bethany, I need a huge favor. This wedding is going to be everything I've dreamed of, but... well, you know how expensive dreams are. I knew exactly where this was heading." "How much, Veronica?" $750,000. "I know it sounds like a lot, but you're doing so well with your consulting business, and family helps family, right?" I could have said no. Should have said no. Instead, I did what I'd always done, I said yes, but this time I did it properly. Contract. Terms. Documentation. Marcus helped me draft everything. If I was paying for this circus, I was protecting myself legally. Veronica signed without reading it, too excited about her princess fantasy to notice the ironclad clauses about breach of contract and immediate repayment terms. The morning of the wedding, I arrived at the venue I'd paid for, wearing the dress I'd carefully selected, accompanied by Marcus and Juliana. The flowers were perfect, the catering exquisite, the string quartet tuning their instruments, all funded by my success, documented in my contracts. Veronica appeared in the bridal suite like a vision of white silk and entitlement. She took one look at us and her expression shifted to something cold and calculating. "Bethany," she said, her voice sweet but with steel underneath, "I'm so glad you're here. But there's been a change of plans?" I waited. Juliana's eyes narrowed, she'd inherited my instinct for detecting manipulation. "This wedding is really intimate, you know? Very exclusive. And honestly, having you here, it just doesn't fit the aesthetic we're going for. You've been so generous with the money, and that's exactly what we needed from you. But your presence? It would be better if you just weren't here." The words hit like ice water. Marcus stepped closer to me, his lawyer instincts activated. But I remained perfectly calm. "I'm sorry, what exactly are you saying, Veronica?" "I'm saying thank you for the money, but you need to leave. This day isn't about you. You just needed to pay for it." Her smile was radiant and merciless. "You don't actually belong here with the real guests." I felt Juliana tense beside me, her anger radiating like heat. Marcus's jaw tightened. But I simply smiled back at my sister with the same cold precision I used in boardroom negotiations. "Fine by me," I said. And we left. We drove home in silence. Not upset silence, strategic silence. I wasn't heartbroken or shocked. I was calculating. Marcus glanced at me as we pulled into our driveway. "You're remarkably calm," he said. "I'm planning," I replied. Juliana smirked from the back seat. She knew that look. I'd suspected this might happen, not the exact scenario, but something like it. Veronica had always taken my generosity for granted, always assumed I'd absorb any humiliation for the sake of family harmony. What she didn't know was that I'd been documenting everything for months. Every email, every contract modification, every additional expense she demanded. I spent the evening reviewing the legal documents Marcus had prepared. The contract was bulletproof. Breach of agreement triggered immediate repayment of all funds plus interest and fees. By tomorrow morning, Veronica would discover that her fairy tale wedding came with a very real price tag. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I didn't call her crying or begging for an explanation. I just did what I should have done years ago. I treated her exactly as professionally as she'd treated me personally. By morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. So when the wedding ended and my phone started ringing, I let Marcus handle the legal proceedings. No shouting, no dramatic confrontations, just professional contract enforcement. And that's what made them truly panic. If you'd asked me 10 years ago what success would look like, I would have said corner offices, client dinners, strategic partnerships. I wouldn't have said using my business expertise to protect my daughter from people who claimed to love us both. When Juliana was younger, she was remarkably perceptive, sharp green eyes, quick wit, and an analytical mind that impressed my business colleagues. She didn't seek approval from others. She didn't perform for attention. She didn't try to win people over with charm. But when she quietly started helping me review contracts during her high school years, I knew she'd inherited more than just my intelligence. Marcus was the one who said, "She's going to be formidable in business." And I've been preparing her for that reality every day since. But my family never understood what they were dealing with. At first, I attributed their behavior to jealousy over my success. Juliana was excelling academically while their children struggled. She didn't need their validation or financial support. She didn't compete for attention at family gatherings the way the other relatives did. But it was more calculated than that. It was the way Veronica would ask for money while barely acknowledging Juliana's presence. The way Felicia once said, "Must be nice having a mom who can pay for everything," when Juliana mentioned her scholarship. The way my parents praised their other grandchildren's mediocre achievements while ignoring Juliana's academic excellence. It wasn't subtle. It was systematic, deliberate, designed to remind us of our supposed place in their hierarchy. But they miscalculated. They always noticed. I didn't waste time on emotions. I really didn't. I executed, I documented, I followed through with legal precision. By 6 a.m. the next morning, Veronica was calling. Her voice was panicked. "Bethany, what the hell is this about immediate repayment? The vendors are demanding money." At 7 a.m., my parents called. Dad's tone was incredulous. "You can't be serious about this contract nonsense. She's your sister." At 8 a.m., Felicia left a voicemail. "This is insane. You're destroying the family over one misunderstanding." Veronica just got carried away with wedding stress. By 9 a.m., Marcus was fielding calls from lawyers representing various vendors who suddenly couldn't locate their payments. The catering company, the florist, the venue, all demanding immediate settlement as outlined in the breach of contract clauses. But the call that changed everything came at 10 a.m. Veronica, sobbing, "Please, Bethany. I made a mistake. I was wrong. But you can't do this to me. We're family." I listened to the entire message, then deleted it. Juliana, reviewing legal documents beside me, looked up with cold satisfaction. She really thought being related to you meant she could treat you like garbage without consequences. And I finally had an answer for that assumption. The truth is, I don't think they ever understood that my success wasn't theoretical. It's like they thought my business expertise was just a hobby, something that funded their lifestyle but never applied to family relationships. They never imagined I'd treat their behavior as professionally as I treated client betrayals. 3 months after the wedding disaster, when Veronica had lost her apartment and moved back in with our parents, she tried one final approach. She showed up at my office, not my home, my actual workplace, carrying a handwritten letter and wearing the kind of desperate expression that accompanies financial ruin. Security called up. I could have refused to see her. Instead, I had her escorted to my conference room, where I sat across from her like any other failed business partner. She looked older, smaller, diminished by consequences she'd never expected to face. "I know you're angry," she began, "but I need you to understand. The wedding was supposed to be perfect. I just got overwhelmed by the pressure." But what she said next revealed everything. "You're my sister. That should count for something. Money shouldn't matter more than family. I think that's when I stopped feeling anything for her at all. Not because of the desperate pleading or the crocodile tears or the strategic manipulation, but because she still didn't understand what she'd done wrong. She'd learned nothing. So when Veronica kicked us out of her wedding, not even a discussion or warning, just a cold dismissal after I'd funded everything, I knew exactly what needed to happen. I didn't argue. I didn't beg or negotiate for basic decency. I just told Marcus and Juliana we were leaving. Juliana didn't seem surprised. She just nodded and said, "Finally." Later that evening, she asked, "Do you think she realizes what she just triggered?" I said, "She will, because I needed her to understand that actions have consequences, even when family refuses to believe it." We spent that wedding night at home reviewing contracts. Marcus pulled up the legal documents on his laptop. Juliana helped organize the payment receipts and email communications. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't vindictive. It was business. And honestly, it felt liberating, methodical in a way that made you realize how much chaos you'd been tolerating for years. I didn't regret missing the ceremony. I didn't wonder about the reception or whether the expensive champagne tasted good. I thought about Juliana. I thought about how she'd watched me enable Veronica's entitlement for years, absorbing every lesson about what happens when you don't enforce boundaries. And I thought about the next family gathering, how for years I'd funded their celebrations out of obligation, paying for their choices, subsidizing their dreams, pretending their shallow gratitude was genuine connection. This time, I wouldn't. This time, I'd demonstrate something different. Marcus asked me the next morning, "Should I file the breach of contract paperwork today?" I nodded. All of it? Immediately. He didn't hesitate. Juliana didn't question it. And when my phone started buzzing with panicked messages from vendors demanding payment, I forwarded everything to my attorney. I just watched the financial chaos unfold, documented. I didn't announce that I was enforcing the contract. I didn't make threats or issue ultimatums or warn everyone about the legal consequences of breach of agreement. I just activated the clauses Marcus had carefully drafted. And that precision, apparently, was more devastating than any emotional outburst could have been. My phone started ringing around 7 a.m. the next day. "Veronica, Bethany, the caterers are demanding $50,000 immediately. What's happening? This has to be some kind of mistake." "Felicia, Veronica's freaking out about money. She says you're trying to ruin her honeymoon. Can't you just work this out like adults?" That one almost made me laugh. Work this out like adults, like the adult thing was absorbing financial abuse, like maturity meant funding my own humiliation. I didn't respond. For the first time in years, I didn't transfer money to cover someone else's poor planning. I didn't negotiate payment plans. I didn't rescue anyone from consequences they'd created. I didn't enable the financial irresponsibility I've been subsidizing for decades. And when no one could reach me directly, they started calling Marcus. First my mother, he let it go to voicemail. Then my father. Then Veronica's new husband. Then Marcus left me a summary, "They want to know what's going on. Your mother's hysterical. Veronica thinks it's not too late to fix this." Fix this. As if there was something broken that needed repair, rather than a contract being enforced exactly as written. We didn't bail anyone out that week. Instead, Marcus and I reviewed the legal documentation while Juliana researched bankruptcy law for her business ethics class. We stayed focused, followed procedures, enforced agreements systematically. We operated more efficiently than we had in years, functional in a way our family dynamics never had been. No one manipulated us financially. No one guilt-tripped us into covering their mistakes. No one expected us to absorb their poor decisions. It was just professional contract enforcement, and that's when the messages started getting desperate. Day 3, Veronica called sobbing, "I just think you're being cruel. I made one mistake, but Bethany has destroyed my entire financial future." Felicia texted, "I mean, if you sue family over every disagreement, you'll end up with no one." Dad left a voicemail, "The way you're handling this is vindictive. I'm sorry, but it is." My mom sent me a photo of Veronica's eviction notice with the caption, "She's losing everything. You would have helped her before all this." I didn't reply, because this wasn't help she was requesting. This was enabling disguised as family loyalty. And I'd done that for too long. A week later, we received a certified letter. Legal letterhead, but I recognized my father's signature. Inside, he had written, "I wish you'd think about the precedent you're setting. Juliana will see how easily you destroy family relationships over money." That line crystallized everything for me, because I realized that's exactly what I want her to see. Not that relationships are disposable, but that real respect, genuine respect, doesn't ask you to subsidize your own humiliation. It doesn't ask you to smile quietly while people treat your generosity as weakness. Juliana didn't comment on the legal proceedings, but I know she was watching everything. She's never been one to miss details, she just observes, analyzes, like she's cataloging data for future business decisions. One evening, she was reviewing financial statements for her entrepreneurship class when she paused and said, "If Aunt Veronica hadn't been related to you, would you have tolerated this treatment from any other client?" The question cut straight to the core. I sat down beside her. "Absolutely not," I said. "Any other client who breached contract like this would have been sued immediately, and their reputation would be destroyed." She looked at me with those same sharp eyes that had impressed my business partners and said, "Then why should family relationships have lower standards than professional ones?" And that was the moment I stopped questioning my approach. A week later, Veronica called again. I let it go to voicemail, then she sent a text, "Mom's having chest pains from stress. She feels like she's lost her eldest daughter. We know there was a misunderstanding, but this doesn't justify financial warfare. That's not who you are." I stared at that phrase for a long time. That's not who you are. I used to accept that limitation, used to believe that being nice meant absorbing other people's entitlement indefinitely. But now I understand this is exactly who I am, someone who finally treats family members with the same professional standards I apply to business relationships, someone who knows that maintaining peace through financial enablement isn't wisdom. It's strategic incompetence disguised as love. The breaking point came from Felicia. She sent a voice message, one of those manipulative recordings where people alternate between sweetness and accusation. "I just think it's tragic, Bethany. You always made such a show of being the successful sister, but now it's like you're using money as a weapon. Like anytime someone doesn't worship your generosity, you destroy them financially. That's not business savvy. That's not leadership. That's just vindictive." I didn't listen to the full message. I forwarded it to Marcus and blocked her number, because if enforcing contracts and maintaining professional boundaries is considered vindictive in their world, then yes, I am vindictive. I'm strategically, unapologetically vindictive about protecting my standards, and nothing they say will make me compromise those principles. Spring arrived with legal resolution. Veronica's attorney requested a settlement conference. Marcus and I attended via video call while Juliana took notes, excellent practice for her future business career. Veronica's lawyer looked exhausted. "My client is prepared to acknowledge that mistakes were made, but she's facing bankruptcy. Perhaps we could arrange a payment plan?" I looked at Marcus, who shook his head slightly. "No," I said. The contract terms were clear. "She's your sister," the attorney tried. "Surely family considerations." "She had family considerations available," Marcus interrupted. "She chose to waive them when she breached the agreement." Veronica appeared on screen, looking diminished and desperate. "Bethany, please. I learned my lesson. I'll never treat you like that again." I studied her face for a moment, then responded with the same tone I used for failed business partners. "This isn't about lessons. This is about consequences." The case settled with full payment plus damages. Sometimes that's the most educational choice of all. It happened on a Tuesday, bright, clear, efficient. I had just returned from a client meeting when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Marcus was at the office. Juliana was at Princeton finishing her semester. I opened the door to find my parents, standing on my steps like supplicants seeking audience with the CEO. My mother held a small gift box. I recognized the jewelry store logo, expensive, guilt-motivated, the kind of purchase that signals desperation. "Bethany," she said with a practiced smile, "we hoped we could talk." I remained in the doorway, not inviting them in. My father shifted uncomfortably. "We know things got complicated, but we're still family. We miss you." "We brought something for Juliana," my mother continued, offering the box like a peace treaty. For her Dean's List achievement. We're proud of her. That's when I understood their strategy. This wasn't about apology, it was about access. They wanted back into our successful lives without acknowledging what they'd lost through their own choices. We know Veronica made mistakes, my father said carefully. But you've made your point. Maybe it's time to rebuild. I could hear the calculation underneath their words. This wasn't about reconciliation. This was about financial repositioning. And then my mother said what I think she'd always believed: business is business, but family should mean something more than contracts. She said it persuasively, like she expected me to nod and say, "You're right. Success hasn't changed my values." Instead, I stepped back and said, "You're absolutely right. Family should mean more. It should mean loyalty, respect, and integrity. When you're ready to offer those, we can talk." My father looked stunned. "Bethany." "No," I said clearly. "You don't get to come here with expensive gifts and strategic apologies and expect immediate restoration. You don't get to treat my standards as negotiable and then wonder why I'm maintaining boundaries. You'll regret this isolation," my mother said, her composure cracking. "Success without family is just emptiness. You'll see." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I closed the door, locked it, and returned to my work until I heard their car leave. I told Juliana the next day. I wasn't going to shield her from business realities. I've never hidden the truth about professional consequences from her, not about anything important. She listened calmly while I explained their reconciliation attempt, their gift-based strategy, their assumption that success had made me emotionally vulnerable. She didn't react emotionally, but I could see her mind working, analyzing their approach like a case study in failed negotiation tactics. "They really think money makes people weak," she said. "No," I said. "They hope success has made me desperate for validation. That way they can exploit the relationship again." She nodded thoughtfully. "They don't get to strategize about us," she said. I thought that would conclude their efforts. I should have anticipated the escalation, because 2 weeks later, my business partner forwarded me an email that Felicia had sent to our professional network. It was sophisticated, calculated, designed to damage my reputation in the way only someone with inside family knowledge could attempt. She implied I had used my financial position to manipulate family relationships, that I'd become vindictive and power-hungry since achieving success. That my treatment of Veronica revealed concerning patterns about how I handled professional disagreements. It was strategically malicious. And initially effective. Some clients reached out expressing concern. A potential partnership was delayed pending character verification. One competitor left a veiled comment on my company's LinkedIn: "Success changes people. Sometimes not for the better." Juliana saw the LinkedIn comment. I watched her read it. And that was my final motivation. I didn't write a defensive explanation. I compiled a comprehensive legal portfolio. Contracts, payment records, breach documentation, every transaction, every communication, every piece of evidence. I drafted a formal statement, not emotional, not personal, just business facts. I sent it to my professional network with the subject line: "Clarification of recent misinformation campaign." I didn't request support. I didn't demand loyalty. I just provided the documentation. Some clients responded immediately. Some investigated independently. Several competitors quietly distanced themselves from the rumors. A few remained skeptical. It didn't matter, because I wasn't defending myself for them. I was establishing the record for Juliana, so she'd understand how to protect professional reputation, so she'd never question whether success requires tolerating abuse. After that, I documented everyone who had participated in the reputation attack, everyone who had amplified unverified claims, everyone who prioritized gossip over due diligence. We implemented stricter client screening protocols and enhanced our professional network quality standards. We never engaged with their narrative again. Not directly. I'm sure they still circulate stories about my transformation. I'm sure my business success is still discussed with resentment and speculation. I'm sure our family dynamics are analyzed as cautionary tales. Let them analyze. They lost their access to our actual story. Fast forward, Juliana graduated summa cum laude from Princeton. Business program, top 5% of her class. She launched her consulting firm before graduation, already landing Fortune 500 clients. She calls me every week, not for emotional support, just strategic advice. She sends updates about her deals. Sometimes she asks for business input. Sometimes she just shares her victories. When she signed her first $1 million contract, she called me immediately and said, "I learned everything about standards from you." She meant professionally, maybe, but I knew what she really meant. People say you can't choose your family's values. I did. I chose competence over sentiment, standards over tolerance, professional integrity over emotional manipulation. And if they still think success will eventually make me nostalgic for dysfunction, let them theorize. Sometimes I still think about that moment on my doorstep, my mother offering expensive jewelry like it could purchase forgiveness, like luxury items could repair what they never had the integrity to acknowledge. And sometimes, during quiet business planning sessions, I wonder if I should have been more diplomatic, more forgiving, more traditionally family-oriented. But then I remember the look on Juliana's face when I told her, professional standards apply to all relationships. I remember how confidently she negotiated her first major deal. I remember that I taught her something no one ever taught me growing up, that respect is earned through consistency, not demanded through biology. Do you think I maintained the right boundaries? Let me know in the comments, and if you want more stories about professional integrity, don't forget to subscribe.